Did you know that India has over 2 lakh registered startups? But we know building a business is hard, raising money for that is even harder. We never before had a founder who went on national television as part of a fundraising journey. Can you imagine a situation where every criticism is scrutinized and looked at by millions of people? My guest today did exactly that, and she managed to ace it too.
One of the most inspiring people on the panel was Dr. Velumani. I went there just as a fangirl so that I could just meet him once.
You had how many minutes in front of the camera typically?
The actual discussion was 1.5 hours. A very intense, grilling kind of a discussion, lot of questions.
Like, how much of a fight did you have to defend your valuation?
There was a kind of a pushback on the valuation particularly.
You came away with a deal on Bharat Ke Super Founders. Not everybody does.
So it's pretty technical. It's not just that you can charm your way and then take money. It doesn't happen like that.
Did you know that India has over 2 lakh registered startups? We all know that the startup economy and the investment economy is thriving. But we know building a business is hard, raising money for that is even harder. We featured various business founders before in various stages of their journey, but we've never before had a founder who went on national television as part of a fundraising journey. Can you imagine a situation where every criticism, every number, every mistake, or every deal that you make is scrutinized and looked at by millions of people? My guest today did exactly that, and she managed to ace it too. She built a wellness company from scratch, and then she actually went on one of the most high profile and competitive arenas in the country, Bharat Ke Super Founders, where various entrepreneurs compete with each other in front of a panel of high profile investors. She managed to ace it, and she managed to come out with a deal as well. Now, I'm someone who's very comfortable in front of the camera, but I cannot imagine a situation where I have to negotiate a high stakes deal with the camera rolling. So, how did my guest actually manage to do that, and what was her journey so far that led her to this point is what we're going to talk about. My today's guest is Sujata Pawar, and the name of her company is Avni Wellness. But before we do that, can I please quickly request you to hit the subscribe button so that we keep getting you such interesting and inspiring people as our guests. And now over to Sujata. Hi Sujata, how are you?
Hi Sampada, I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How did that sound? Did that sound, apt description of your journey?
It was quite generous. I'm really thankful. It was really overwhelming to listen
No.
it in this way, actually.
No, not at all. What I said in the introduction was the truth. I am actually very comfortable in front of the camera, but that's acting. Now, if someone said that, okay, go in and there's this deal that you really want, go and close it, and the camera is going to be rolling throughout, I don't think I could do it. So, how did you do it?
Uh, it we were nervous. Both of us were pretty nervous, to be really frank.
You and your co-founder?
Yeah, me and my co-founder is my husband also. So
Okay.
we were pretty nervous. The only thing that helped us there was the fact that maybe both of us did not have a lot of expectation, to be really frank. The show actually invited us. So we just went there maybe to share our story with the investors and see if that could resonate and try to get a deal.
Okay.
One of the most inspiring people on the panel was Dr. Velumani.
Yes.
On the panel, and frankly, I went there just as a fangirl so that I could just meet him once. So,
For viewers who may not know, just tell us about the panel. And I know that you've mentioned Dr. Velumani before. So tell us about the other people in the panel and him, and why that was your motivating reason to go there.
yeah. So actually, what we loved about the panel, and when they actually reached out to us for the show, what really interested us is the diversity of the startups that they had managed to get on board, and also the diversity of the investors. When we typically, as a company, as a startup, go to pitch at any place, there is always a set of or a typical pattern of investors. Either it is a VC investor, or it is some founder who is investing his own personal wealth, or it is typically we also meet a lot of analysts who are not in the position of putting in funds, but they do analyze the
Okay.
company, and these are
Okay.
pretty young people who have not built businesses themselves, but yeah, of course they look at some metrics and try to make sense of it, of how
Okay.
the startup's health is really.
Okay.
So here in the show, what happened is we met all of them together on a panel.
That's very
That had
interesting.
never happened. That had
Alright.
never happened. So we had, as I mentioned, Dr. Velumani, who has himself built a business from scratch for I think 32 years or 33 years, if I'm not wrong. And then he sold it off, took an exit. So he had come there to invest his personal wealth.
Okay.
Then there were a couple of others who were typical VCs. So they come with a very different, they invest with a very different mindset. And then there were, if you see in the panel that was on the side, they had investors who were impact investors. So investors who typically invest only in social impact organizations.
Yes, we're going to talk more about
Yes.
that. Your
So
company
that
is-
kind of diversity with respect to investors was not something we had faced in one pitch. Once you're pitching to such a diverse crowd was not something that we had done before. So that was pretty exciting to us. And what we were particularly interested in is if we could take our story across to more number of people, not just the investors, but the viewers who are going to view the show, and take our vision to them and make sure that our products, our story, our vision, our impact reaches to more and more women and their families was the reason we went on the show.
Okay. I think, yeah, you're right, because there'd be millions of viewers also watching this who are not investors, but they'd get to see your journey, they'd get to understand what is it that you do and more awareness of your products. Now you have, let's say you had how many minutes in front of the camera typically? How much time did you have?
So actually the show that was aired, every episode is between 15 to 18 minutes, but the actual discussion was 1.5 hours.
Okay.
He was standing there for at least 1 hour, 40 minutes, 50 minutes if I'm not wrong.
Okay.
And a very intense grilling kind of a discussion, lot of questions. So whatever we saw on the television was just,
Yeah, just the highlights.
just
if you can
just
put it like
just
that.
a small part of it. That was how big the typically pitches are that long. Any if you pitch to any investor anywhere, if it's a online setup or if you're pitching to somebody in person, discussions happen that long. It's just that because it was to come on television, they only showed the highlight and the important bit so that
That's how it
we could
worked
get
out.
the crux. You could get the crux of every startup.
Okay, so I want to ask a question which would help other people who are looking at raising funds, right? I'm assuming you did a lot of prep before you went in because you knew what you'd be facing. So what are the kind of questions that you guys were ready with and that you would suggest anyone who's going in for any kind of a fundraising meeting should be ready with? Like,
Typically, any investor would ask when you share your pitch, the typical questions would be, what is the story behind it? Why did you start? Is there something that motivated you? More often than not, it is some personal reason, personal experience of the founders that we typically see. So they try to ask you the story, because if the story is pretty interesting, or if it is quite thoughtful, then the reason why the startup has started becomes a little more relevant, and you can understand if this will stay for long. The passion of the founders will stay for long. So that is one thing that they need to know. The second thing is very important. If it doesn't come out in your pitch deck, they would want to understand who your actual customer is. What is the customer profile? And you should be able to define it in say 3 to 4 sentences, saying this is the kind of woman, she will stay here, that is the kind of education she has, this is the kind of income she'll have, or whatever your customer is. So customer profile understanding is a very important aspect. The third important aspect is the numbers. So you need to really be very thorough about your numbers, the growth year on year, how much have you made profits, or if you're still in loss, then how much have you really burnt every year. Your gross margins, the margin structure basically, as in if a product is sold at 100 rupees, what are the expenses, what is the cost breakup of each of the rupee that you do. And the fourth important thing is your vision. So if if somebody has to invest in you now, what is it that they are going to get staying invested in you for say 4 years, 5 years, 10 years, whatever is the horizon? How do you see the company, the startup shaping up in the given duration of time? So these are the 4 important things that I think any investor
Would look for. All right. It's very technical. It's not like we see on TV where it's like, अच्छा मैं तुम्हारे ऊपर पैसे लगाता हूँ. It's not like that.
No,
I
it's
guess.
not like that. It's pretty technical. There are a lot of numbers you need to know. What are your repeat rates? Are customers coming back? How many reviews do you have? What are people saying about you? How many customer calls do you get? How many field visits do you do? These kind of things are also discussed. If some investor is really very much interested, they will discuss this. And of course, product discussion definitely happens. What is your product exactly? And do you know the technicalities of it?
Right.
How have you developed? How is it different from the market? So it's pretty technical. It's not just that you can charm your way and get in his or her heart and then take money. It doesn't happen like that.
Or my second question, which was going to be like, do they put money on an idea? No, they don't. They also look at all these things, right?
Idea is important if you are at a very early stage. So when you say it's a pre-seed investment or even a seed investment for that matter, that is money being put on an idea. Beyond that, when we go into say the series A, B, C and all that time numbers matter more. That time the numbers matter. How fast are you growing? What are your repeat rates? Are your costs coming down? How are you managing the infrastructure around order processing? Is your supply chain very sustainable? If your manufacturing that bit is sustainable, then that is what becomes more important. But at the very early stage, yes, idea is important. But when you talk about idea, it also matters how many consumers can that idea really have. It cannot be something whimsical that somebody is trying to do. You need to really have consumers paying for it. So that is precisely the reason why in the pre-seed or the seed round, investors typically take up more equity because that is the riskiest time.
Correct. Okay.
When you've really not established that they say product market fit, that you've made a product. Okay, it's a good product. But is there a market for it? And is that market willing to pay for your product? That fit is very important. Once you have that fit, that is when you're ready to go beyond seed and then scale up the business and if needed, raise more funds.
There's been some backlash that some of the startup reality shows have received that they don't have enough representation, right? We see a lot of food things, we see a lot of cold drink things, we see a lot of beauty stuff, but we don't see that much of defense technology or agriculture. Do you feel that there's being an attempt made to correct that right now in this reality show startup arena space?
Yes, I very much think that is what has happened. And when you talk about representation, it is not just the industry from which the startup comes. Okay. Representation is also from the point of view of geographical representation. Yes. Startups coming from tier 2, 3 cities, we saw that happening a lot in this show. Age-wise representation, we saw a lot of young founders, so one of the episodes, if you have seen, the founders are like literally 11 years and 18 years old.
Yes, they've received
and there's another startup, I think that the founder is even younger, I think 9 or 10 years old. Okay. So that kind of representation is also pretty important because if you need to motivate everybody. You need to motivate young people, you need to motivate women, you need to motivate men, you need to motivate people coming from rural areas.
Yes.
You need to motivate people coming from, say, the far northeast of India. All of them need motivation, and this kind of a representation just helps that.
Yeah, that's actually good to see. And we were talking off camera and you were saying that there was very interesting representation of different industries, right? So that's also good to hear because that's the first time I'd heard of something like this. Yeah. Okay, there's another question. You came away with a deal on Bharat Ke Super Founders. Not everybody does. But when you're defending your valuation, do you believe that, do you agree with the criticism that, okay, Indian founders, sometimes they overvalue their company? Do you believe that? Like, how much of a fight did you have to defend your valuation?
Oh, so we got, there was a vehement kind of a pushback on the valuation particularly. And I quite understand where they come from because yes, we were, with respect to the numbers, we were doing until the month of November. The episode was shot in December, so the numbers that were being discussed were until November. So those numbers, looking at those numbers, the valuation we were asking would have sounded quite high. But the thing is, when it's the founders and the investors discussing, they have not seen what we already know, what is going inside the business. We know what are our plans, how are things shaping up. There are some orders which we can't disclose before things have happened. So some things, just one order actually changes the trajectory of any business. So that is something that we know, but we can't share it in advance because it's still not happened. We know how we are going to reach those numbers to be able to justify that valuation. So that backlash was definitely justified from the investors side. But what we were happy about was we were able to come to a middle ground where it was not too low a valuation for us, and for the investors also, they were comfortable, so that they have enough skin in the game to be able to contribute to our business as investors. So yeah, I agree. Sometimes you need to overvalue if you know what you're building is really worth it, and if you have numbers to back it up. If not right now, maybe in 4 or 6 months, if you have numbers that will stack up and you have enough confidence that you can be that much worth, then it's definitely always logical to demand that kind of valuation.
All right, that's a great answer. You spoke earlier about, I asked you about what do investors typically ask for, and you explained 3 or 4 things. But there's another thing I'd like you to talk about, the softer bit of it. Like, I personally find that, and I'm, maybe being extra fair to myself, I believe that investors are biased if you speak better English, if you present yourself better, right? And that is not true for each and every person. Someone may be equally brilliant, but they not able to present themselves in a particular way. So what are the soft advice on the softer skills that you would give a startup founder if they're going out there in the market and they're looking to raise a valuation, in terms of presentation or in terms of verbal skills? What is the advice you would give?
So you are very right on the communication bit. If somebody comes across as especially speaking very good fluent English, it does cause a bias. But I will be frank with you that does not definitely guarantee that a deal is going to convert. I will not be able to give you names, but I know for a fact that in the show actually is shot in Hindi.
Yeah, we'll come back to that.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
So, but there was one founder couple who actually are not born they were born here, but they are not raised in India. They were raised abroad, so definitely they were more comfortable with English, and because there was an accent, the pitch went very well. We saw that pitch live. The pitch went very well, or everything was good. In fact, in that pitch there was a lot of English spoken, not Hindi as much, because they were not very comfortable.
Yeah, that is the
but we could understand that there was a complete bias because of the nature, the flamboyance, and the English from them. But now we know that the deal might not go through because of the valuation not being agreed of. So it's not that if you just speak good English and you try to manage to get a deal, maybe in like principle, after the due diligence, there are chances that it may or
correct.
So yes, communication is important, but it doesn't have to be flamboyant. It has to be clear. What I believe, it has to be clear. Whatever you want to say in few amounts of words, and make sure that the person understands and gets the answer that he's seeking. Don't talk too much so that the actual core of the question gets missed. That is something that I would it's not about the fluency of your English, it's about the clarity of your thoughts.
Okay.
That is more important, and that always goes through. Always goes through to anybody. The second aspect is just being thoughtful of the fact that investors are extremely busy. And it's not because they want to, come across as snobbish. They are investors, they are people with money. So definitely everybody is going to chase them. On a daily basis, they see some 100 or pitch decks coming to them. So even they have to be sure of, where can I give attention and where can I not. So make sure that the first 2-3 minutes of your deck and the way you speak actually gathers attention. So the first 2-3 minutes are pretty critical. Master them very fairly. And the third thing which I have now realized becomes more important is your the way you're managing not just sales or product development, but also how you're managing your team. How is your team? What is the team talking about? How long has the team stayed with you? So these actually reflect your softer skills as to how you're really with people, how you manage people. If you have a big team and there's less churn, that actually talks about a solid foundation of a culture in the startup, which makes sure that the people are staying in place. Because see, as a founder, even if I have an idea, I won't be able to build it on my own. I need people, I need team, I need good relationships with my suppliers, with my vendors, with people who manage my factory production, operations at my warehouse. So if I am not able to manage that, then that reflects on the business numbers also. So it's not just glamorous numbers or people in the the founding team that matters, but how diligent your team is and how old is your team along with you. That I think has helped us also a lot. That people who we've worked with since 5 years still want to work with us. That's a true testament to, I think.
That they believe in you, plus they're happy working with you, right?
Yes.
So I want to take one last question on this before we move to Avni Wellness, right? I'd love to hear more about it. We hear a lot of talk about what investors are looking for, but you've gone through more than one round of fundraising. Let me ask you frankly, I'm sure you're also selective in what kind of investors you take in. Okay, so what do you think that a founder should look for in a potential investor? Because it's not just the money, it's the other skills also that they get in. So what did you look for?
What we look for right now, my answer would have been very different if you had asked me 5 years back.
Tell me
5 years back,
me,
5 years back, we were purely looking for money because we did not know, how do we really choose somebody. Once you spend time in the ecosystem, you'll get to know. 5 years back, we were plainly looking for people who could believe in us, believe in the idea, and put in the money. After 5 years, there have been 2 incidences where we have received a term sheet and the investor has backed out. There have been 2 incidences. There have been at least 3 to 4 incidences where we had come to a point where, can we keep this alive? Can we still keep the company alive? Is it going to be possible? And touch wood, due to, the efforts, the hard work, the trust, and maybe blessings from the Almighty, we've been able to sail through. So now what I believe is it is better for us to look at investors who have either built some companies on their own, maybe or multiple businesses on their own, and investors who are founder first, who understand the finer nuances of building a business. It's not just about the multiples. I've put in 2 crores. When will I get? How much will I get? In how many years? I need this in 5 years. I need this in 6 years. That kind of a discussion is something I really want to stay away with. It's not like we don't think of, how do we give exits or to our investors. We definitely think on behalf of their interest all the time. And that is precisely the reason why I need to keep the company. It's more important for me to keep the company alive, because if the company is not alive, then I'm not going to give any returns to anybody. But if that is the first discussion that happens with somebody, then that is at least a red flag for me. I really want somebody who can believe in the product, who can believe in the channels that we are building. The Avni Sakhi channel, it's a very high impact channel that we are building with women entrepreneurs in villages. So if the discussion doesn't happen more on the product and the channels, and I don't see an enthusiasm, let's build this together, then at the moment it is a red flag for me. At the moment, even my business is not about giving 10x, 12x, 15x returns. Maybe I can think about it after 5 years, but right now it's more about somebody who can actually work with us alongside to build this.
So that would be your advice, that you should look at that an investor you would like an investor who's founder first and who's looking at your journey as well,
Yes.
and not just purely a numbers game. So let me ask you this, Sujata. When you went on Bharat Ke Super Founders, did they start off by talking about your flagship product, let's say, or did they ask about the entire bouquet of products? Like, how did you lead? How did you start your pitch?
Oh, that was very beautiful, and I think we were one of the few companies to get that privilege. Before we went on stage and started pitching, there was a video that was played, and which actually showed the entire manufacturing operations, and we did a very beautiful shooting at our manufacturing place. It is in Kolhapur, and the story started with how men don't have the slightest idea of what periods are, and there's so much of taboo around it. But yet in the same place we have a manufacturing facility which is empowering so many women, and and they are crafting products which are empowering millions of others in the country. The video that came out was very beautiful, and actually I had tears in my eyes when I saw it for the first time, because you
It was
usually
emotional.
have that moment, you're अरे इतना कर लिया, मतलब this is what we've built, we have built this together. So that was that moment for us. And that entire video was talking about our Lush pad, which is our flagship product. It is India's first patented antimicrobial cloth pad.
Okay.
So it is a
Reusable?
reusable pad, yeah. So it is actually a modern version of the traditional cloth that
Kapda.
our dadi nanis have been using. Interestingly, and there are numbers to corroborate this, is that at least 60% of menstruating women in India are still using cloth in some or the other way. And not just because they can't afford. These are women residing even in urban setups. Not just they can't afford, just because they're comfortable. And I'm one of them. I've been comfortable. I've shifted to the commercial pads, but I've come back to cloth because the comfort that an organic cotton cloth gives you is unmatched. And it is definitely recommended that you use something breathable. So what I tried to do is we built a modern version which will suit a modern woman who is traveling, who has work to do, 10 things to handle. So that's why what we've done is we've incorporated an antimicrobial technology. So it takes away the fear of infections. It's very thin, beautiful looking, nice, vibrant prints. And it absorbs very heavy flows without any leaks. In fact, I think it is India's only pad out of all the options that we have which has absorbent wings.
Okay.
Wings is a very big area where leakages
know.
happen. I'm sure you will know. So you don't have any pad, disposable, reusable, any kind of a pad in the country which has absorbent wings. So there's a lot of thought being put behind that product, and I think that is really the reason why it's very loved. We just stock out in days when that product is in. So and then the video also showed about the other products, how we've built other products, which is the organic cotton disposable pad. We have menstrual cups, and now we are building a range of nutrition products.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. So I see a mixture of old traditional methods and a mixture of new age stuff, right? Because the cloth has been used since earlier, before pads became available. But tell me, I know you're excited about your, what did you call them? Nutrition?
Nutrition products,
Yeah, so-
hormonal nutrition
Yeah,
products.
yeah. So tell us about that. Like, how does it work? What is it for? And what's the thought process behind?
Yeah. So we started with menstrual care, Lush pads, then rash-free sanitary pads. Through these 5 years that I have worked in this space, and I've spoken to a lot of customers. We have a WhatsApp helpline, so we actually get customer messages on a daily basis. We interact with them. What I've realized is the modern, at least Indian woman, so to say, is maybe she's over-sanitized, but she's undernourished. So a lot of hormonal problems that we see today, be it hair loss, be it acne, very, very severe period cramps, periods being irregular, and which then leads to infertility and then cancer and these kind of cases, are to some extent linked to hormones, and to some extent, a lot of extent linked to nutrition. How much ever good quality products you use on the outside, if you're not nourishing your body properly, and by body I mean your hormones, because they need something specific. It's not just about carbohydrates, proteins, and macros there. For your hormones, you need micronutrients. You need micronutrients like actually good fats, which is absolutely absent in today's diet,
Yeah.
which is just
Yeah.
talking about protein.
Yeah.
You need magnesium, you need selenium on a very, very frequent basis to be able to make sure that your hormones are manufactured properly and they function well. And we don't have tailored products for women. And it actually surprises me that there are so many groups of people for whom there are specific products. Like if somebody is a bodybuilder, we have a specific product, nutrition products for them. If somebody is a sports person pursuing sports, we have a specific set of products for them. For pregnant women also, now we have. Even that is too late, but now at least we have. But we really don't have products for women who are going through a process every month and getting affected every month. Imagine girls hitting puberty. Girls are hitting puberty very early these days. 7, 8 years, 9 years.
Really?
Yeah. So the average age was 11.5. Now it has come down to 10.5. It's very bad. 7, 8 years old girls hitting their puberty. The first beginning years are very, very, haphazard. A lot of bleeding, no bleeding. And it's very difficult for the mothers especially. There is nothing for... So mothers had asked us this question. So interestingly, the thought of this product came out from the questions that mothers have asked. You're making so good quality pads, and my daughter is just 10 years old, and I come from a healthcare background. So can you not make something that I can give her to eat, which she'll like, and I will be happy that she's not eating junk, but she'll still get some good healthy stuff out of it. So that was the genesis of the entire range. Ormobites is what it is called. It's a bite size snack. I'll say it's India's first period or hormone friendly snack range, which you can consume. It boosts your iron. There is a calcium bite which boosts your calcium, and there are seed bites which give you it brings the power of seeds, which are very, very popular these days. It's a handy bite which you can just either eat in the morning first thing, just after your workout, and or maybe as an evening snack. Fills your stomach, and it still gives you the important micronutrients, good fats, protein, fiber, everything.
So this is your latest product, but I want to ask about your journey till you reached here, right? So how many years has it been? How did you start? What has the journey been like till today?
So actually, interestingly, yesterday was our 5th foundation day that we started officially as a company, as a private limited company. But the journey actually started 2.5 years before that. So the first product, which is the Lush pad, which is our cloth pad, the reusable cloth pad, it took us 2.5 years to actually get it right. We developed some 3 to 4 versions which we launched in the market. Then there was some feedback. Then we improvised it. And then we finally came up with, and it actually, to begin with, we had actually started selling some other product. So we were more like distributors for that brand. We just wanted to see if this product has some demand. So we've done even that. And then we started developing our own product. That again took us 4 to 5 good iterations to be able to reach a place that we are now. And then that 4th version of the pad is what we applied our patent for.
All right.
And we then got that after 2 years.
And the patent is for the composition of it? Or like, what is the patent for?
The patent is for 2 things. One, it's the composition. So the fabrics, there are 4 different technical textiles that we have used. Say the top one gives you dry feel. It doesn't leave blood stains, which is very critical. Then the second layer is an antimicrobial layer, which prevents the user from infections. Then next is a set of 3 to 4 cotton layers which absorb and hold. And the last layer is a leak-proof layer. So these are technical fabrics which we particularly develop, and they are made for us, which we use for the product. And then the shape. So if you see the shape of the pad, it is a very ergonomic shape. That also happened after some 56 iterations, that we've arrived at a pad which doesn't move so much. It still fits properly. It's thin, it absorbs, and you can still wash and it will dry sooner. So all of this was taken into consideration while making the pad.
All right. I'm seeing a lot of like constant improvement and hard work and multiple versions of the product, right? Which I guess a lot of founder journeys would have.
That is constant. I think that was never going to end until and unless we keep running the business. You have to constantly improvise on the product because there are some trends that keep coming in. you find a chance to better. So now I'm already working on how do I improve this bestseller.
Yeah.
That is something I'm already working on.
I guess, yeah.
So
Constant improvement. I also heard you say earlier in the podcast that there were 2 or 3 times you felt that अच्छा ठीक है अब तो company बंद करना पड़ेगा. So how did that happen? How did you get out of it? What kept you going actually? I want to know that. What kept you going in the midst of that?
The first instant, actually, now if I think about it in the hindsight, I think so everything works out for the best. It's easier said than done. But today I can definitely say that these two incidences, what happened is the commitment came up very, very quickly. We didn't have to do a lot of pitch, not a lot of convincing. The person was very, very okay. I like the idea. She was a woman herself, so she completely understood everything. The commitment came in fast, but because of some things happening at her personal end, she was not able to transfer. And that the discussion was going on for 1.5 years. So 1.5 years, we were just waiting. Next week the money is going to get transferred. Next month the money is going to get transferred. That kept happening. Now, when it comes to as a founder, and especially when you've started something from a point of passion, you want to make it work. It's like karna hai, and it's coming from a point where I'm impacting so many women. People are loving the product, and I know for Lush pads, women wait for 2 months. When the product will come in stock, I will buy it.
Because they're used to it.
Because they're used to it, they like the pad, and it's you don't have it available anywhere else. So when that kind of customer love is something that you're getting, then you have to make it work. That is non-negotiable. So there are 2-3 things that we did. One is we cut down on a lot of expenses. First is the marketing spends completely went down to zero. No collaboration, no influencer marketing, none of that glamorous costlier stuff. We gave up that. We actually left our office also. We left our office space for some time.
Tough times.
And we said, let's work from home. Why give that expense? So these are some of the cost cutting measures that we took. Just focused on that 1 or 2 products which were selling, and managed the relationship with the manufacturer there, and kept it alive. There were instances where we had to actually take loans against gold, that why wedding jewelry and all of that. Such kind of instances also have happened. But yeah, when you want to make it work, you find out ways. That actually helped. I'll tell you how it helped. Of course, it sailed us through those times, but today that has become our DNA. Today, even if you give me so much money, I will still think from that perspective ki karna hai kya? Do you really have to do this? What is the ROI that I'm going to get out of it? That experiences have actually made us more frugal and more calculative in terms of, do I spend
Value
here?
for money.
Do I spend here? Or I don't spend here? That kind of stuff. Not very aggressive hirings, not lavish offices. Whenever we get there, let's do the expense that time. Today, let's just focus on what is important. Another thing that we did there, apart from the cost cutting, is we developed an alternate range of products. What we saw is menstrual care as a space is a heavy focus area for governments also. Lot of NGOs, lot of corporate service organizations, CSR funds, even then used to approach us that, we want to do some activations. Do you have products? We started developing products for them. We had the technology, fabrics, everything was there with us. So we then developed this low frills version, which then kept going to the NGOs. So those B2B orders actually kept us alive. Okay. And then what we made out of that orders, we then invested here into marketing, and then grew the online business. But we never left that. We never thought that let's become a B2B business. No, I wanted to build a brand. We will build a brand. We'll figure out where the branding money will come from. It just doesn't have to come from investors all the time. We can build something else around this business and use that money, invest that money here. That is another thing that we did. So it's not necessary that you start with one product or you launch one product and start the company with that. It is not necessary that you have to keep selling that product. All or none principle, ye nahi bika to kuch nahi. Aisa nahi hai. You can work around some other product. Can I sell something else that's easier to sell, that already has a market? Make some money and then invest in this product, which is my flagship product. That is what happened. And that is how that low frills, the economy range of products which got developed in those times, today is being sold by the Avni Sakhis. So we already have a product range, which is like it's at par with the biggies in the market. Our product is actually sitting in retail shelves in some 50 kilometers out of Latur, biggies ke saath. So I'm very proud of that. That was an adversity which gave us this product range,
Yes.
and now it's become a one of like takkar hai. matlab It's equal to our best selling range in the on the online space.
So adversity actually worked out for you because you got to sort of think laterally. You also, even this lesson on frugality that you're talking about, I heard the same thing from Srijit of True Elements. He said the same thing, that they got so used to being in startup or bootstrap mode that even when they got the funding in, it never came that, oh, let's spend the money. You were always thinking from that frugal kind of point of view. So I think that's a good learning, actually.
Yeah. And that actually helps as a founder. Now, if you see, it is investor money. It's not your money. If you get in money from investors, typically it's an investor money. You will think, "Theek hai, it's an investor money. Let me spend." But what actually values most to investors also is that if are you spending their money like it is your money? Are you spending it wisely?
Yeah.
That is what gives them more confidence to
So
maybe
that's-
then.
that's a good lesson. So do you feel that women sometimes shortchange their own needs monetarily or otherwise? Do you feel that?
I feel that more often than not, because what I have seen, and now that I have seen urban women and I have some experiences in the interiors as well, conversations with women, I feel that urban women, and it's a societal thing. It's I don't blame them, but it's more about the outside appearances, and investing more in them. When it comes to hygiene, basic stuff like the quality of the underwear, the fabrics of underwear, your sanitary pad, your products the makeup products is also especially which you put, all of them get absorbed in the body. So you need to be really careful of what you're putting. So I've seen women don't think twice before buying that 15th 16th lipstick just because it's a shade that I like, but they haggle so much for a sanitary pad is so costly. That 100 rupees sanitary pad is going to last you for 2 years and is going to prevent you from a lot of infections and a lot of chemical exposure. It's not that buying that lipstick is bad, is that you have to think about these aspects also and spend a little on hygiene.
Priorities, maybe. Priorities,
So I think you're right.
Yeah.
It's about the priority. You have to sometimes prioritize your health, because see, women's health goes for a toss, and I seriously believe this is, if women's health goes for a toss, the entire humankind is at risk.
Yeah.
Because if you if your reproductive system goes for a toss, it's what is going to happen
Yeah,
next.
no,
I don't even have to talk about this.
Yeah.
So it's a moral responsibility. We need to think, and it's not that now in this modern day and age we have so many options at various price points. Really new age brands are doing good stuff. Try some of the products. Try them. You'll feel good to make that expense as well when you're thinking for your body, for your health, for Mother Earth. That's a good feeling.
Yeah. I think so. I think, I have sustainable products or eco-friendly products, however you would like to categorize them. I've been seeing them a lot in the Western world earlier, and I think in the last couple of years in India as well. So that is, I would say, a big reason, right? You're not polluting the oceans or the earth or whatever. That is definitely a big reason. So yeah, it was really nice hearing about all of these things, and your journey as well, right up till this point, not just this point, but right up till this point. And thank you for being here. Before you go, we have something from
Thank
one
you
of
so
our
much
sponsors.
for having me. Oh,
Yeah, so this is a premium cold pressed oil brand called
Okay.
Arkka Oils,
Thank
and this
you.
is for you. And thank you for being here.
thank you so much, Sampada. It was a pleasure coming here. Thank you for having me.
Thanks. So I hope you guys enjoyed this conversation. We featured a lot of other startup founders before, and you guys might enjoy checking out the playlist. So make sure you do so. And thank you for watching. And please quickly hit the subscribe button so that I can keep getting you more such interesting and inspiring content. Thank you. See you all next week.